And welcome to another Mark Bishop Show. We're hearing a lot about how our restaurants are coping, they're copping it big time here in Arizona and everywhere else for that matter. But here's some good news. The Samuel Adams Restaurant Strong Fund expands to 20 now total states, funding over $2 million in support for restaurant workers. And my guest on the podcast today is Jim Koch, founder and brewer of the Boston Beer Company, Samuel Adams. Welcome, Jim.
It's a pleasure, Mark.
Well, as founder of the Boston Beer Company and Samuel Adams, folks, he's here to share details on the expansion of this wonderful thing, the Restaurant Strong, and their mission is to support restaurant industry workers. A lot of them are battling right now, so restaurant workers, you can apply for assistance if you didn't know about this, in your case. So listen out because you're going to find out what to do. And to tell us actually why you started the Restaurant Strong Fund, Jim, how did this idea come about to you in the first place?
Well, Mark, it really started in 1984 when I launched Samuel Adams from my kitchen because Sam Adams started 36 years ago. The whole company was two people. We were pretty much, nothing in this industry dominated by huge, mass producing, mass marketing beers. And I had this idea about making rich, flavorful beer. And everybody thought I was crazy. So I couldn't get a distributor. So the only way I could get my beer into the market was to put cold beer in my briefcase and go from bar to bar, talking to, bar managers, restaurant managers, servers, asking them, would you give me a break? Would you put in this new beer? I know nobody's ever heard of it. I know it doesn't taste like anything that people have ever had. But I have this idea that, Americans will drink great beer, flavorful beer, rich, beer with character, if they just have a chance. And of course, the rest is history. Sam Adams helped launch this whole craft beer revolution in the United States and ultimately in the rest of the world. And I promised myself that I would not forget, what those people had done for me when I was nothing and I needed a hand. I thought someday I'm going to have a chance to say thank you and return that favor. And when this COVID pandemic hit, it just devastated the restaurant industry. Virtually, every restaurant in the country had to shut down and not just, shut down, but lay off their workers. And, these are the people I've known all these years. And, I knew that a lot of people who work in restaurants and bars, they don't have a lot of savings to fall back on. They're living from paycheck to paycheck. And, suddenly and unexpectedly, they lost their jobs and their livelihood. And I know, there were some of them who needed money urgently to maybe make their rent payment because they're behind on their rent or a car payment or utility payment. A lot of them, very few have health care, so they're paying out of pocket if they think they have the virus and want to get tested. So we set up the Restaurant Strong Fund to fill that gap of immediate and urgent needs that restaurant workers would have. So that's how it all started. We started in Massachusetts. Sam Adams kicked in $200,000 to get it started. We were able to raise like $350,000 on top of that because there was a real outpouring of support from, all the rest of us who go to bars, who go to restaurants, who really appreciate the guy who poured them a beer when they needed it or served them a meal when that was kind of the bright spot of their week. And now we can't go to that bar. We can't go to that restaurant. And there was all this really wonderful support. So we thought, let's take this across the country to the 20 biggest states, including where you are down there in Arizona. So we put the $2 million into it to be able to help restaurant workers all over the United States.
Yeah, well, it's amazing and a wonderful thing that you have started, and it's nice to hear, somebody in the big league like yourself started with nothing on your kitchen table, built what you've built. Credit to you, but you never forgot where you came from and the people that helped you get there. That's the big thing. Funding to 19 new states. Samuel Adams is kickstarting the fundraising with 200,000. Then you raised 500,000 to 2 million in no time. You got some big names involved: Jimmy Devlin, chefs Ming Tsai and Chris Coombs, along with David Ortiz, the baseball player as well. Jim, let me ask you: there are more than 1 million restaurants in the U.S. and altogether they employ over 15 million Americans. This is nationwide. These restaurant workers, they're especially vulnerable to the effects of COVID-19 closures. Do you see most of them reopening again?
Yes, I think they will, Mark. What I know about restaurant people is they are resilient. They are committed. They love the hospitality business. That's why they're in it. And a lot of them, if you've been in this business 20 years, you've had some hard times before. Anybody who started a restaurant from scratch has to be like determined and passionate and committed to what they're doing. So I think the vast majority of them will reopen. There'll be some where they're not really serious about it. They're like, oh, everybody loves my cooking, so I opened a restaurant. Well, those kind of people probably won't make it, but I think the vast majority of restaurants will reopen. And it's worth remembering that, yes, they will. And when they reopen, they are kind of like, the frontline workers that are making such a difference now. Not only the people in, hospitals and healthcare, but the people who stock the grocery shelves, the people who deliver our packages. Those are the kind of people that the restaurant workers are, because when they reopen, they're going to be exposed to the public. They're going to be interacting with dozens of people on each shift. They're going to be picking up the dirty dishes and the silverware and taking it to the kitchen and washing it. So I think one of the silver linings of this crisis is it reminds us of how much we owe to people who do these simple, unheralded, unrecognized, underappreciated jobs. And maybe we'll be a little more thankful and grateful, when somebody actually prepares a nice meal for us, gives us a nice place to enjoy it, and then cleans up and we walk out the door. Maybe we'll leave a little better tip in appreciation of that.
So with anybody listening now, if you'd like to make a donation, well, let me ask you this. How long will Restaurant Strong be accepting donations and applications?
Well, we will be accepting donations and applications, for a little while, but the real focus of Restaurant Strong is to help restaurant workers in their hour of urgent and immediate need. And, when all the restaurants got shut down, I realized, okay, eventually the government, the states and the federal government are going to help out. There's going to be unemployment, there'll be stimulus, there'll be other kinds of payments. But right now, none of that is coming in, and everybody's got bills to pay,
That's right.
Rent to pay, etc. So our real sort of sweet spot is let's jump in right away. So within 48 hours of starting the Restaurant Strong Fund, we were already writing checks. So it's not meant to go on forever.
No.
We hope to disperse everything that we brought in by April 30th. So that's really our focus. Now, I know there'll be contributions that will come in after that, and we will disperse them as quickly as they come in. But our real focus is let's get money into people's hands right now when they need it most.
Well, folks, you've been listening to Jim Koch, the founder and owner and brewer of the Boston Beer Company, Samuel Adams, and this wonderful, Restaurant Strong Fund, raising an awful lot of money. You can go to donate still this time, or apply for a grant when it comes to that. Go to www.restaurantstrong.org. That's one word. www.restaurantstrong.org. That right, Jim?
You got it perfectly, Mark.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. And on behalf of, I'll get a lot of friends in the restaurant game here and a lot of friends who work in the industry here in Tucson, Arizona, and Phoenix is feeling it as well. But thanks for what you've done. We appreciate it. And God bless, mate.
Well, thank you for helping us get the word out. Cheers.
Goodbye now.
Bye now.